So what is the course details? What do you have to do to pass this class? So again, there is two different courses. So please, as you follow along in LMS, make sure you're selecting the right syllabus if you're in 4210 or 6600. Most of the materials will be the same. Graduate students have extra things to do, and I'll explain them both in the syllabus, there are two separate syllabus, and in today's video. One thing I want to emphasize, if you are registered for ISYE 6600, I want to be clear, this is not a PhD level course. This is a course that I would say is great for a lot of students that will take this. They have not taken a similar course in their undergrad. So a lot of people that are registered for this, we get a lot of mechanical engineers, we get a lot of potentially business students. And so those courses, I would say they're kind of a master's level class. But if you've taken, in your undergrad, a course similar to this, and you're now a PhD student looking for truly like a PhD level course, this is not it. And please, send me an email, and glad to chat about opportunities to get something to make sure it's aligned with what you want. Okay? So key thing is, and you're likely already there because you're watching this video, but LMS is where it's at. Okay, so LMS is the mandatory communication tool for this class. That's where all the materials will be posted. That's where you'll turn in your assignments, and there will be announcements. There's a schedule. I'll go through all that. Also, I will post your grades there. And so please make sure to kind of check in, make sure that your grades are correct. And then, as you go through, if you see a calculation or a problem, let us know, and we'll fix that. So please go to LMS. I hope that it's relatively easy to find information, but if you have any questions based on LMS, send us an email. And so if you log into LMS for this semester, we are going to have a kind of asynchronous pre-recorded videos, which you're doing right now, and you should watch those. And you can see there is a schedule when you open LMS. Then we'll talk about what course topics. You will have to watch some videos and then potentially do some self-guided activities. And then there are certain, deadlines for those activities. During class time, which for this semester is 2:30 to 4 o'clock Eastern time, Tuesdays and Fridays, there will be optional labs, and those will be used to kind of as a recitation to help you with things. For example, we will start using R and RStudio. If you're new to that, that would be a really great thing to show up to recitation and get help making sure you can use this tool. If you're a really pro at that, no need to show up. We will also use those recitation times for extra help with homework and kind of office hours. And if you have any questions as you watch these videos to need more information. And so you don't have to attend those, but I think they'll be really great and useful. So what do you need to do to pass this class? So again, there are two types of students in this class, so make sure you're in the right column. If you're an undergrad, your grade will be made of primarily homework and then 3 exams. We'll also have what I call activity assignments. Those are kind of the catch-all for anything that's not a homework assignment. Those are activity assignments. So if you look on LMS right now, there's some things like getting to know you quiz and supply chain and you assignment. Those are all things that will go into an activity assignment. The goal of the activities is to get you to, get your hands dirty and try out some things. However, they're usually not graded very forcefully. Like they're usually binary. Yes, you did this, or no, you didn't. And they're really there for you to engage with the material. And so it is, though, some decent substantial part of your grade in the sense that if you engage with the material, likely you're going to learn things if you're not engaging with the material. And the exams in this class, I'll talk more about, but they will be take-home exams. For graduate students, you have the same assignments, but you have 2 extra columns. You have what's called journal article assignments and a project, which I'll talk about in a couple slides later. But I want to emphasize, if you're an undergrad and there's an assignment that says ISYE 6600, you do not need to do that. You also do not need to do a project. All right, so what are the 4 homeworks? There are 4 homeworks, and they basically fit the set of modules. So there will be a homework on demand forecasting. We will use R and RStudio. There will then be homework 2 under capacity planning, variability, and coordination in a supply chain. There's where we'll start using operations research, so optimization. as well as we'll talk a lot about variability. So that's where probability comes in, and we'll simulate a few things as well. The third homework is on inventory management. That's where you need to be familiar with probability. So demand distributions, probability distributions. So this is modeling and analysis of uncertainty topics. And then the last homework is network design, which will come back to optimization and network optimization. So the idea with homework is there for you to learn. So the idea is you can collaborate, you can come to these recitation hours and ask, am I doing this right? Can I check my homework? That is awesome. You do still need to turn in your own homework. It needs to be in your own words. You shouldn't be copying directly from any other pieces of material. But homework is really there for you to learn. So my love of homework would be everyone should be getting 100 on homework. But to be able to do that, you need to start early. You need to ask for feedback and utilize the resources, specifically the recitation resources this semester to do that. So homework, please collaborate, but please, each person individually needs to turn them in. They'll be turned in on LMS. And you need to make sure you're writing them in your own words, not copying verbatim from somebody else's homework. In terms of the text, there's no required text. The textbook is suggested. And so this is the textbook. It's Supply Chain Management, Chopra and Meidel. And, you are welcome to use a different edition. You don't have to have it. All the materials in the slides will be posted, but there is a lot of really good information there. And I will say, if you're new to operations research or if you're new to probability and statistics, it is a good textbook to have as additional supplements, but it is not required. It is suggested. If you are a graduate student and you are interested in more theoretical things, also if you maybe are interested in research in this area, this again is a suggested textbook, not required, but it is much more theoretical and gets into some more details, proofs about things. And so it's an excellent textbook, again, supplemental, not required. One thing to note is there are what was called online office hours prior to this. And so there's going to be a number of videos that are posted that you will be required to watch and then do, different activities and to help do your homework. But if you need extra help, these are more oriented towards homework problems. And so we'll remind you as we go through the semester, but this is another just resource for you if you're interested. So as I said, both for graduate and undergraduates, there's a % of your final grade that's activity assignments. This is really a catch-all. So there may be some quizzes, some guided assignments, some case studies, some activities. These are things to kind of get you engaged. For example, on Friday's lecture, there will be an engaging activity. You'll watch a video and fill out a Google form. These are not supposed to be super complex, but they're supposed to get you to make sure you're participating. So you will turn these in through LMS or Google Forms, and your grades will show up in LMS. And so please keep up with them. There's a little bit of flexibility in terms of due dates, but not crazy amounts. Please try to keep up with these assignments. As I said, there are 3 exams, exam 1, exam 2, and a final. There'll be individual efforts. There will be a take-home. We'll talk more about that as the semester goes on. But there will be some aspect of conceptual questions, so kind of multiple choice, do you understand the concept, as well as more homework-based, like applications of the methodology. Again, more information will be provided once we get closer to that, but you can expect the exams to be take-home. Okay, for graduate students. So again, only ISYE 6,600 students. So there is a set of journal articles that are posted. There is a module, if you go past the schedule towards the bottom, of journal articles. The idea here is you're enrolled in a graduate level class. I want you to start thinking about what kind of research has been done. And there's crazy amounts of research. We are just gonna touch not even the tip of the iceberg. We're just making a scratch. And so what you basically will be doing is there will be a PDF of a journal article. You will be asked to read this and then respond in some way. And there's descriptions of what that response should be, and then you'll upload them into LMS. And so I think this is an important way to get visibility into the wide world of supply chain research. And these are purposely stacked at the beginning of the class because this is a way to inform your course project. So your course project you can think of as kind of like writing the beginning of a journal article. Okay, so it won't make you write the whole journal article, but it's like the beginning of the journal article, like a motivation, a literature review, and then maybe a problem statement, right? So you wouldn't actually do the research, but you do that. So maybe you aren't familiar with doing something like that. The purpose of then reading some of these would give you an example of what some of your projects would look like. So in terms of the project, there is actually a really, really detailed Word document. I encourage all of you, if you're a graduate student, to read that. Look at it, think about it, and then you're welcome to ask questions. If you are already doing a research project, I would strongly encourage you to try to make sure that this project could contribute in some way to your research. So it is great to double dip. If you're working on research, hopefully you can do something for research for this project. Again, undergrads, you do not have to do a project. So if you see anything with a project, you can ignore it in LMS. I would strongly encourage graduate students to read through. There's quite a long document. Think about kind of what types of things you'd want to do. And then there is, different deliverables here. They all should hopefully culminate in a final report, but it's sometimes hard to write a final report. So I'm a big fan of iteration leads to success. So you'll have an initial report, you'll get peer feedback. So get feedback on the report from me and from the fellow students. And then you will use that feedback to finally respond and make a final report. And so that opportunity to iterate and improve, I think, really enhances people's projects in this class. Again, more details in LMS. Encourage you to look at that and start thinking about what you want to do for a project. So that's kind of what we will do in this class in terms of kind of assessments and how you will accomplish, some of these goals of the class. But if you want to think about, okay, what are some of the goals of the class? Some goals of the class is how do you design a system? And in this class, the system will typically be a supply chain, right? And so we need to think about how do we make decisions about this design of a supply chain? And we need to think about things in terms of economics, so minimizing costs, but that's not the only thing, right? We should also think about what's the impact to our environment, to people, health, safety, etc., right? And so when we think about in this class, how will we go about designing these systems? We will make decisions using different tools and computational approaches. I think it's also useful to have some contemporary knowledge of what's going on in terms of supply chains. In the previous videos I made, I said, it's an exciting time to be in supply chains. It's also a challenging time. And so hopefully you have some knowledge about that. I also hope you're able to develop and use math models to guide decision-making in supply chains. So we will take a bunch of tools that you've learned in other classes and really use them to support or guide decision-making. And so we will spend a little bit more time, not just on formulating and solving, but maybe doing sensitivity analysis, using this to get insights into the problem domain. And I hope that's something you can take away from this class. From the graduate perspective, so not undergrad, just the 6600, I hope you are able to kind of understand, discuss academic research in this space, and identify what is a research contribution and why would a journal be published in supply chain management. The journal article assignments will guide you through this process, and then ultimately you are supposed to propose a research contribution in your project. But then for everyone, I really hope you have a lot of fun. You learn, you get excited about supply chain and logistics, and maybe pursue this in the future. So those are some of my goals for the class. The other thing I want to really make sure you all know, and this is really, really important, is every single one of you belongs in this class. I'm excited to have all of you here. And if you don't look like the traditional, stereotypical industrial engineer, you belong here. I hope you succeed, and I'm going to work really hard to create an inclusive environment in which all of us can bring our best selves. My goal, I would be really, really happy if everyone gets an A in this class. That would be fantastic. I've never had that happen, but I would think that would be awesome. And so I really, really want you to do your best. I want to create an environment where you're all successful. One caveat I want to make sure is being successful is not the same thing as being happy in this class. You may actually be frustrated by some of the things in this class. When you are frustrated, or if you are frustrated, remember that's oftentimes when learning happens, when we feel uncomfortable. I can't get this thing to work. I don't understand it. I will be there. The support of the other members of the instructional staff will be here to help you learn, but that might be frustrating. And so I just want to point that out as well, is that learning oftentimes happens when we are uncomfortable. Finally, I would say, please read the syllabus. There are 2 syllabuses posted on LMS, one for ISYE 4210 and one for ISYE 6600. Please read them. I want to make a few comments of things that maybe are different than you have seen in some other classes. One is that if you can't make the deadline for a homework assignment, that is okay. You can move that weight to the exam as long as you email the instructor prior to the deadline. So if you can't make the homework 1 deadline, what you can do is take that weight and move it to the exam 1, which is where those materials are. I actually don't think you should plan to do that, but I understand everyone has things going on, lots of seniors last semester looking for jobs. And the idea here is homework really is there to learn. And then I will test you about that learning on the exam. So ideally, you would probably do better on the exam if you do the homework. But if you are unable to make the deadline, you can then just illustrate that you've learned that concept on the exam. So the only criteria there, you can do this for as many homeworks as you want, is that it's before the deadline. You let the instructor know that that's what you want to do. There is a regrading policy, which is basically once we grade your stuff, you have a week to ask for a regrade. And you should have that in writing and then say, why do you think this should be regraded? And then finally, academic honesty. Please don't cheat. Please don't plagiarize. Specifically in this class, we'll have exams that are take home. Unfortunately, last semester, I had to turn in people for cheating. They weren't doing it independently. Please take it seriously. Do your best work. You guys are all capable. Follow the rules of the assignments, and please don't cheat. Okay. And I will also, try to stay to the highest level of integrity as well. Okay. So what I would encourage you to do is to make sure you've logged into LMS, you've checked out the syllabus, you've checked out the schedule, and then you've looked below the schedule at the modulars where we will be posting things. If you have any questions, please post to the discussion. Thank you.